Hello, my name is Ingrid Riley. I'm the founder of SiliconCaribe, and welcome to This Week in Caribbean Tech. We're back. We're back, aren't we? Daniel, my co-host.
Hi, I'm Daniel Smith, and yeah, we are back.
No, listen.
We didn't take a break. It just became inadvertent. So
Listen, and before we go in, just in case it's the first time you're seeing us or hearing us, This Week in Caribbean Tech is a weekly podcast where what we do is to help you to stay ahead of the top tech and business news in the Caribbean and globally and why it matters to you and your business. Now, the reason why I was saying we're back, because if y'all are regulars, since we started, even the SiliconCaribe podcast to now, we pretty much took May off. we're not around for me, so we're back now, and we're gonna keep it going because definitely we're now in June, and for the rest of the year it's going to be interesting, and how should I put it? It's going to have a pace. Yes, it's going to have a pace. So what have you been up to this past May?
wow.
You didn't have any glasses. What's going on? You all right, sir?
Yeah, it's over at my desk. It's been a hectic May. I don't know that there will be any slowing down on my end in June, because now we roll into summer. But for me, it's been launching Keepingly, getting Keepingly out the door. So
hold on a second. You actually said it, yeah? You're Keepingly. No, tell the folks because Keepingly is a startup. If you have heard me in previous episodes, you'd hear me saying, "Oh, he got funding," yes, and and so he's been busy. He launched and all these things. But please tell the gentle people, as we would say in Jamaica, what exactly is Keepingly?
So Keepingly is a platform where we're focused on helping homeowners to be able to centralize things around their house. So our objective is really to empower homeowners to be able to manage, maintain, and grow the value of their asset. So that in a small nutshell. So basically, it's a centralized platform where everything that you do in the US, I know it's called a closing document. So we start there, and we build upon the relationship that you have with your owner, your realtor. So your realtor provides you with the documentation on this platform. And as you go along your home ownership journey, it allows you to be able to add receipts, add invoices, add pictures, and the whole gamut of things that you would have done to your property over the years. And the funny thing about it is that most homeowners don't realize until they're 5-10 years that, oh my, I've done so many things with my house, and where's the documentation? You can't find this, you can't remember when you changed that. So we are really aiming to standardize that whole transaction process and be able to help people to be able to account for things like taxes, and in the US, I know it's really called the capital gains tax. I'm not sure how we deal with that in
Yeah.
But, all those kinds of things. So, you don't pay double taxation based on, the things that you would have done, but you can't find a receipt for it. So we're aiming to really standardize that whole process and have a more, using digital technology to have a more holistic end-to-end system. So that's what Keepingly is in very short order.
So y'all don't know why, El Trinidadian Negro got money. You can see now why he got funded. So that's what you're doing the whole of May? That's what you got the whole of May? You launched it and what? I saw that you're busy traveling.
Yeah, so we actually in the pilot phase now. So we are testing among, more than we did some closed user group testing, so we started there. And so we're doing a bit more opening it up to more people now to be able to onboard their documents, test the journey, have a few both the realtor side and the homeowner side joint process. So that's what we've been doing. Yeah, I've been traveling, took 2 trips to DC in the past few weeks, and it's been a whirlwind. But what I've realized is that, a lot of what happens in the housing world is really happens from a centralized place, which is, from that DC area, because it's a lot of housing is tied strategically to what happens from Congress and stuff like that. So it's really, for me, it's been a whole education and just going and seeing people. And the funny thing is that we're still in the middle of COVID. The amount of traveling I see people doing, I'm like, yeah, with COVID done. It's like numbers are going up, but hey, whatever, man. Everybody's like,
it's crazy. People are like, oh, is this a 5th wave? Whatever it is. But anyway, they're like, listen, and May, what's been interesting, because guys, you're listening to us, you're watching us. What basically we're back episode is about catching up with each other in terms of what we've been up to for this past month or so. And we're gonna also talk about maybe like 2 or 3 things that we've kept our eye on in the world of tech and business in the Caribbean and globally. Even though we've been, missing in action on this pod, but we've been busy with our own businesses and keeping an eye on what's going on out there. So yeah.
And don't forget, we still keep up with each other. We just talk to each other offline.
Of course, offline we're in touch with each other, of course.
We haven't found the time to really do this, but yeah. So what about you, Miss Riley? What have you been up to? I see all kind of Kingston beta, this, here, there, seeing clips of you being a superstar on stage. So give me the 411 on that.
I don't know about the superstar thing, but yes. So the first week of May, SiliconCaribe, we relaunched Kingston Beta, which is our signature event series that pretty much kickstarted the scene here in Jamaica and went across to 10 Caribbean countries and the diaspora. I closed it off after 11 years in 2018, and so one of our very successful members of the community decided, hey, let's take it over and let's continue it. And so we relaunched it. Fantastic launch at AC Hotel. We had maybe around 70, 80 people because it was an invite only. So we got a lot of people cussing us. It's like, what happened? What's happened? I'm coming to Kingston Beta from 2007 and I don't get an invite. But if we were to invite everybody, there have been hundreds of people. Anyway, so we launched that and that's going well. So Jeremy and Henry from Norris Tech are the new curators. I've franchised it to him. And so they're going to continue with meetups, with hackathons, with boot camps. That has, of course, led to other people saying, what happened? Oh, beta is only for Jamaica? So interestingly, I had a plan like years ago, like around 6-7 years ago, to do betas in different Caribbean countries. The ecosystem wasn't ready. Right. Now, I'm actually glad because everything really does happen for a reason. So now with Kingston Beta having relaunched and now in the hands of a new curator, I decided that we're going to do additional betas, but we're going to do it 2 ways. We're going to do like beta pop-ups. So we'll talk about this later, but you and I are going to Barbados for a fintech conference. Right. Before that, I'm popping to Canada for a tech conference. And so wherever I go, I am going to meet up with the local diaspora and Black community in tech there, women in tech there, and have like a pop-up. So when we go to Barbados, we're gonna have a Bridgetown Beta pop-up event. Nice. And then there are other people now that I've talking to take on franchises. Like, hey, this is what the beta network vision that we have. These are the benefits of taking on a franchise. And so we're talking to 2 Caribbean countries around that. But I think right now that the key thing is to like do pop-ups, because I think that is, well, not just easier to do, but it's almost like going on like a road tour, right? And so we're gonna do that. But yeah, so that's in the works, but it's just, there's thankfully been a lot of interesting things developing for Silicon Caribe. We're not just going to be doing media and events. Like we're taking on a full-time producer and editor to keep us going in check, and every week, so we deliver some valuable content to you all. But we've always been very aggressive with our events, and we are still the leading producer of Caribbean technology events. So we're going to do more, but we're going to do a lot more with partners, and in different topics, like technology at the intersection of wellness or something like that. But we'll share as we go along. And then there's some other aspects of the Silicon Caribe ecosystem that we're building out. So that has had me an interesting way. And the other thing that's been on is like getting injured at the gym. Like, what does a woman have to do to stay in shape and take her fitness to another level, and getting injured twice? Like, really? Like, is this an over 40 thing, Daniel? Like,
yeah. Well,
Well. What's that? You're not supposed to say that.
Ultimately, I had a shoulder injury. I couldn't do any. I haven't lifted a weight for the year. I mean, since February, I haven't lifted a weight. I actually, funnily enough, today I actually had to go to physical therapy. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah. We're
getting up there. We're getting up there, but that's the reason why we have to stay in shape. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we have to keep it going. But one of the things that I observed, that's been happening, especially May seemed to have been a very taxing month mentally and physically for a lot of my entrepreneur friends, not just in the region, but around the world. All the news about recession and fifth wave and everybody's trying to gear up for the second half of the year. A lot of people were having, anxiety issues, and you take some time off. I can't keep going like this. Like, having these mini things like, am I doing enough? Entrepreneurs can get when they're in, we go through mental cycles where like, bosses, and we're driving and doing stuff, and then we're like, are we doing enough here? Or maybe we should take a break, or our bodies tell us to stop, right? So there's this, so I've been noticing that there's been like this energy of anxiety, people not sleeping well, they're working, doing certain things, to this like this very gentle pendulum swing I'm seeing now. Not even a swing, it's more of like a declaration, almost like it's called the Soft Life Manifesto. And I saw that the meme, and I was like, I read it. Let me read it to you. It says soft life, a life of ease, peace, comfort, and intentional happiness. It does not require struggle of stress and distress. It consists of mutual relationships, clarity, and self-care. And I find that a lot of my entrepreneur and creative friends are into this whole thing. They're definitely very much into self-care. We're going through a pandemic, and it was basically a global health scare. So everybody's like, whoa, how do I stay healthy? We're locked up for many, many months, and for some people years. How do I get out of this mental space where I can interact again, I can be myself again? Or what do I have to do differently as a person growing a business, or trying to within this new paradigm? Because without question, the pandemic changed all of us.
Right, agree.
And so some people are just like figuring out like, who is this new me? Or as the Soft Life Manifesto talks about, what do I really want my life to flow like from now on? And some people are like, yeah, I'm running a business and being a millionaire, whatever it is. But there's this other aspect of a soft life that is taking hold online, and you're seeing people, manifesting different, talking about self-care and that kind of thing. What's your thoughts about that? You're like, whatever, bitch. I'm working my ass off.
I mean, a variation of that, but I would say that number one, we full-fledged, and I know we'll get to this eventually and talk and break it down, but we're full-fledged in the middle of, I don't even know if it's a correction. I think that in the beginning of May, I was saying, hey, it's a correction. I'm like, yeah, now we are full.
Economic correction globally.
It's like a full-fledged recession, you know. People don't want to call it because
they don't want to call it.
Hey, we need two quarters of, you know, down economic numbers, blah, blah, blah. But for me, I'm like, yo, you've seen every major VC issue, hey, you need to start cutting back. Most of the tech, and you mentioned it, but I don't think that, you know, I even see company called Loom. Now, if you're doing videos online, you know who Loom is. If you don't, well, they just get rid of 10% of their staff. Yeah. I'm looking at just like the amount, especially in startup world and in startups, you know, those who haven't raised a certain amount yet, there's a bunch of cutting. Why? Because they're VCs are telling them cut. It is
get real.
So a bunch of people losing their jobs. So that's the first thing. So because in the beginning of the pandemic and during the pandemic, everybody was like, hey, we can move, we can have mobility, we can have this, we can have that, you know, but now I think that we're at the other end of the spectrum. And for me, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the numbers and you see a bunch of people laying off. And for me, that might be great because now, you know, we have to hire tech talent. So at least the people won't be, there's more talent out there. And so it maybe, you know, give those of us who didn't have the opportunity to be able to hire certain
people. The talent would be cheaper, a little bit more pliable, as they say.
A bit more cheaper, and stuff like that. So I think that that's like one of the things I saw. But I think that there's a certain intentionality that you have to live your life with as an entrepreneur. And, you know, somebody I remember, or a VC I was talking to, she's like, Daniel, how do you distress? I'm like, yeah, some days I just read, or some days I watch TV, or, you know, take weekends off. Because you can't be going at it 24/7.
Not at all.
But I said, but for me, I think that the other spectrum of that, I was reading Scott Galloway this week, and he was talking about, you know, there's no such thing as balance. And you know, you have to just be deliberate in your choices. Hey, this is what I'm going to do now, and this is what I'm going to start my week with. But the weekend, don't call me, don't see me, don't nothing me. Because I am kind of off. Or, you know, I take a 2 days, or I take a sabbatical for 1 day, or whatever the case may be. But you have to be just very intentional about it. I don't know about a soft life business because
but again, that speaks to intentionality. What it basically is saying is that, listen, we're not saying we're running away from the work that comes with being an entrepreneur or creative, or being, or, you know, as you strive to become a successful person. Right. I think what is happening is that people are challenging the definition of success, that it's like a workaholic kind of a you know, ethic, you know, team no sleep foolishness, to that's not even, I mean, even you know, it's even being challenged is, of course, the 8-hour work week. And I kid you, I was 22 years old when I found out how the 8-hour work week came into play. Henry Ford, God knows how long ago, over 80 years ago, say more people to work in shifts so they can keep cranking out things. It's a relic of the industrial age. So that's why I see people talking about hybrid work, talking about, you know, no email after 6, 7 o'clock, you know, how they're now stopping this whole habit of working on weekends. It's an intentional thing where they say, you know what, fine, we know we have work to do, but at the same time, we have a life to live, and that work is not the entirety of our life. There are these other things. And funny enough, you know, I've spoken about this last year at this Caribean women leadership, Caribean women in leadership thing there. I was talking about my own burnouts. And
that's the one where you are on stage with Mia, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Of course. And it was about, I had lost my way because I'm in tech. You think that you have to work 24/7, 365 because you inherited, you thought that was the norm. And so you just dove into that and all you did was work, and everything else of my life, my health, my love life, my family, my friends, suffered. So now the intention is, as you say, to yes, still work smart. But we are multidimensional human beings, but I'm also going to be intentional about having a partner, intentional about being great stewards of my relationships and my friendships with my family, making sure that I'm healthy and fit, both in mind and body. And I'm not working 24/7. So I think that's the whole intentionality behind the soft life. It's not like everybody wants to simply be lying by the pool, doing nothing.
But as you talk about the soft life, because I know in our hiatus, you and I went back and forth a bit on your friend Elon, who basically said yesterday in an email that was late, hey, 40 hours a week or you're out of here. That was his memo internally at Tesla, and it was leaked. What do you think about your boy Elon's definitive statement? Yeah, I'm working 40 hours here in the office. And again, I was saying to somebody though, I hear this whole conversation of hybrid work and remote work. But again, I'm not, I think that, again, I think it was something I was reading from Scott Galloway. He was saying, with what is happening in the economy, the pendulum is basically swinging back into the courts, into the hands of employers, who will say, hey, I need you in for a certain amount of hours per week. And you don't work that amount of hours, bye-bye. I have choices. I have people who want to be in the office. Whether or not this fifth wave, impacts that, we'll see.
But here's the thing. First of all, Elon is, wow, a disappointment. But then again,
hold on. As a Twitter power user, I put you in that bracket.
He don't own Twitter yet. And I actually made a bet with a sister of mine in DC. She had interviewed me on her podcast, right? Oh my God, I can't remember her name. This is really bad. But anyway, I'm trying to remember. Anyway, so I was like, I'm gonna give you $100 US. I'll give you $100 US if Elon actually buys Twitter. We're still waiting, right? And a whole bunch of different things that happened before. Anyway, that's Elon, whatever it is. But regarding the whole hybrid remote work thing, without question, even before the pendulum started to swing in terms of recession and job losses and the restraint of venture and investing capital, and of course we've seen crypto markets have crashed. We've seen the stock markets are crashing. We see supply chain stuff is still issues. Inflation has gone into double digits, all a bunch of different places. There's literally a threat of not just products and services, but also food and that kind of a thing. It's not pretty out there, right? But the fact of the matter is that the pandemic changed things, and some of those things are irrevocably changed. Yeah. Without question, there are going to be some industries that need people as heads behind desks, that kind of a thing. There are some industries that are going to need people working, certain hours a day. But that's not going to be carte blanche, because they're still going to, especially knowledge workers. People who can just simply, as we're doing here, recording this podcast, you're in Miami, I'm in Kingston, we're using our laptop on our internet access. We're still getting things done. We're still moving our companies forward. I can go to Canada next week and still keep and still have my events and do all the things. You can go to Punjabi and still do whatever it is that you're doing. So
my idea. Punjabi next.
No, dude, let's go to Europe. That's where we need to go. Live a soft life there. But Europe is great. But that's why people are saying remote, maybe not all remote, a hybrid where you come in 2 or 3 days a week. So people can have that choice. I think that is going to be mostly the mainstay. But as I said, some companies are not going to, they can't do remote anymore, or they just were not into it in the first place, or they can't do hybrid. But I think even though startups and some industries industry players are laying off people, I still think because there was a global talent shortage to begin with before.
Right.
And so the fact that some people have been laid off in certain sectors, has brought more people into the talent pool. But I think we'll have to see over the next couple months or two exactly what happens still. Are people going to get scared and just take what it is that they get in terms of a job? Or maybe we'll see, like in a lot of recession times, people lose a job, they go start a micro or small business. So yeah.
But I was.
That's what you've been keeping your eye on, Elon Musk. Really? You'd have other things to do, sir?
Ma'am, I know that you're an Elon fan sometimes.
Sometimes. The more and more I learned about him, I realized that you know how Elon comes to me now. Not I've read a lot and see him, be himself. He's now like one of these entrepreneurs who didn't get enough attention. And so, he's the richest man in the world, but he's still not cool. So he's not the cool kid. So he's trying to get all this attention, like, that I'm the cool kid, look at me. But also, I think, when you get to a certain level, if you're not fully grounded in yourself and you have all that power and influence, you're going to use it. You're going to see how much you can get away with. And so he's been saying things, he's been doing things, he's been pushing boundaries as his in his DNA, and see what he can get away with and the attention that he gets. So I kind of like booked off the Elon watch thing, and I say, dude, do you? Especially when he said he's going to vote Republican. I was like, really? And then he says, oh well, if he buys Twitter for the sake of keeping in line with what he calls free speech culture, he's going to have to bring Trump back on there. I was like, all right, you know what? No, sir. No, not at all.
But you do realize that that's one of the reasons why he made this attempt to buy Twitter in the first place, in my
I didn't even know he was Republican. I thought this Negro, I thought this dude, he's not a Negro for sure. He was a Negro, he was a Democrat. But I thought this dude had a Democratic leaning, but it turns out that what he has is a power and influence leaning. And I get it,
but how could you thought that? Because I know we've had the conversation that Elon was one of the Twitter, not Twitter, but PayPal, that billionaire boy crew, and Peter Thiel was one of the foundation of behind Trump. So I'm like, okay,
and they're all friends.
And they're all friends.
And they're all friends. But I thought, I don't know why, that's why I said I was reminded that they're all friends, and so they basically all have an agenda. So especially Peter Thiel, that's a very interesting man. But so what else was what you're looking? You're clearly was eyeing up Elon Musk. You're clearly looking at this the recession and its effect on global talent and hybrid and remote work. What else has caught your eye while we were doing things?
So part of me was like still looking at what's going on in the Caribbean. One of my fundamental mainstays of how I think about the region is like how inflation, number one, how the economic cycles of a recession going to impact us. Where I was one of my last places of being, a full-time employee, was the Trinidad, TSTT in Trinidad. Yeah. And they got rid of 400 and something workers yesterday. And so for me, I'm like, I reached out to some people and said, hey, you still there, kind of thing. But you do realize that some countries are either dealing with it very well or they didn't plan for it. And so, and for me, I knew they were going to come with something since last year. I think that talk was bandied around. So there was a certain amount of, knowing these things are coming down the pipeline. But, seeing some of these things in recession times and knowing, okay, what is the plan for, economic growth and development, and how do we, I looked even at Jamaica, and I was checking to see if, I know you all had some new telecoms talk coming on the horizon, seeing if any of those things had launched. But I think that it's a very hard market to come into. I think that we going into a recession, and not sure how the inflationary, because I know we as a region are always like behind in terms of our stats and our numbers align. So how does inflation play out for the Caribbean? What do those numbers look like? How many people have lost their jobs in the last year? How are we balancing those things? Are questions that I have, asked, and I know we haven't, gone over it. But I think that ultimately those are some of the things that, and then how does, especially as somebody building in tech, it's like, how do some of those things impact tech, or how, I know that we talked a lot about digital transformation. So how do these things come about, and where do these things, align? And so those are, I think part of the things I was trying to keep an eye on in terms of what was going on.
Yeah. So here's the thing. When we kickstarted Kingston Beta in February 2007, we were heading into 2008 and 9. Pressure dropped too, right? Recession, global recession, startups, the whole 9 yards, were having an issue. But at the same time, during that period of time, there was a lot of interest, a lot of entrepreneurs throwing their hat in the ring because they were trying to either scratch an itch with a problem, trying to solve a problem that they had, or they saw some opportunity in the marketplace. So like with whether market is up or down, there's always opportunity to make money. And so as usually, I'm always trained towards that. And so for me, I was like, okay, well, if we don't, some people don't want to call it a recession, but we're in a very outrageously inflationary period. Everything gone up, and nobody's remained untouched, right? Food gone up, gas gone up, electricity, power gone up, travel costs gone up, and everything. But at the same time, I remember saying, what are the industries that tend to do very well in inflationary or recessionary times? Things that always help people to save money. People always help people to escape reality. People, things that help people to in terms of increasing their convenience of living and getting things. So I'm looking and looking. Who is that? Daughter?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Tell her hi. And so I'm looking at like people who are in the what I call the food staples business, right? They're the ones that things that because people have to eat 3 times a day. So people who are in the food business and certain convenience foods, healthy foods, people are going to still spend money on that. People are going to still spend money on entertainment because they want to escape reality. So whether it is online entertainment, gaming, parties, that kind of a thing, they're still going to do it. People are still going to travel. People are like, listen, I don't care if I have to sell my car, rock up, whatever it is, I am going to do something in terms of moving around. And also like telecoms, even though those people are cutting off, people are going to still want to stay in touch and all that. And of course, even though it's recession, and of course, I always look at what the people with a lot of money, more money than me, are doing in terms of investing. They're investing. Look at Buffett and even some of the local entrepreneurs and investors here. They're investing in, again, companies that focus on those things, like Seprod, right? The convenience foods, the whole net, cheap food, that kind of a thing. Buffett made sure he doubled down, double-fisted, triple-fisted on oil stocks, because guess what? People are still going to travel, both by plane, both by boat, train, and automobile. So even though the prices are gone up, it means that also those companies are going to make a crap ton of money. Therefore, their returns are going to be high, and that's going to continue for a while. So I'm here just always trying to figure out where the money at.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. In the last recession, we had Uber, Airbnb being created.
Absolutely.
Both unicorns now. So, I think that companies that have good fundamentals will be, but balanced along with the whole concept of making very strategic and wise decisions in terms of that investment trajectory and on what you put into it. I think, all VC statements I've seen in the past few weeks. I just read one, earlier this evening, which basically, kind of put it out there again. And so I think that, it's important that, a certain level of attention is paid, because what I think and what I see is that sometimes we tend to, I don't know that for us recessions hit in the same way. We tend to like.
When you say us, you mean in the Caribbean?
In the Caribbean.
Okay.
So we tend to either, because it impacts us, but we pretend, or we try to create this umbrella about ourselves, or we're living in a big tent. Hey, that is not going to impact me.
Yeah.
And so I agree, people have to do X, Y, Z, but I also do believe, and maybe it's just the entrepreneurial cycle of, hey, certain things coming, hey, you have to cut back. You can't live, the way you want to live, like you're living in splurge times, because, that's all the VC notes that have come out have said, hey, you need to conserve cash for the next 18 to 24 months. That's the kind of timetable they're giving.
Yeah.
You read AZ16, you read Sequoia, you read any one of these guys, and they all talking about that timetable. So I think that it's really, but I don't know that we as individual humans tend to live our lives that way. So it is that I would say is the conundrum. But a lot of us, we live in these bubble houses, I say, sometimes, in that we're not trying to take stock of the microeconomics of what these things mean, and how it could impact us. And so that's one of the things I would say that we just have to be really cognizant of, because I would tell you this, I think that, and I was on a call, because also I was doing 2 accelerator programs. So in the middle of May was like all these things, I'm still doing accelerator programs. And one, I remember a specific conversation with somebody saying, hey, Caribbean entrepreneurs are very, very great in terms of our ideas and our thought processes. We build companies that allow us to, build with our backs against the walls. But because of the nature of our Caribbean ecosystem, especially for funding, our entrepreneurs don't necessarily get the runway to take off or to be able to excel. And I thought that was, and I know that's something I've said, and Caribbean people want to be, usually like, why are you being so negative about X, Y, Z? And I'm like, that's just the reality. We don't have the market, we don't have the numbers. And so some of those things are really skewed. And so, hearing that again, it was very interesting to me, and I just kind of smiled when I heard it. But I think that it's really important for us to, develop that ecosystem. So as entrepreneurs start figuring out, okay, how do I expand into XYZ market? Where can my product go? How do I build up relationships to get my product to? Because you think about your own Jamaican ecosystem, or your own Trinidadian ecosystem, or St. Lucia, or wherever, and you realize that those numbers are small. But you start thinking about, okay, how do I add value to the world?
Yeah.
Another thing that I realized though, and I went to the Emerge conference in May also, and I saw a lot of Jamaicans, Jamaican around the route in Emerge. Ingrid, you were the one missing.
That's all right. Y'all were deputizing for me. I'm good. I get all the juicy stories coming back to me. I'm good.
But that was really one of those interesting, places where I realized that, when I looked at the amount of Caribbean people I saw at that event, I was just like, these are opportunities for our people to figure out how they really globalize their business, and a lot of people are in Miami, etc. And so it's figuring out, okay, how can I take what I have in Jamaica and next to somebody in Miami, who in Miami could next to somebody, because we all run into some of the same challenges. Okay, where do I find developers? Where do I find XYZ? Where do I find a call center? All those. And I don't know that sometimes in the region we think like that. But I will tell you that the Latin American part of the LAC is totally dialed into how they can make and find opportunities in the Latin American markets. And I think we as a people have to become similarly intentioned of how do we find those opportunities. It may not be the market size, but it's, hey, how can I set up a call center? Or hey, how can I outsource this development? Or how can I do X, Y, Z? Because I think that there are tons of those opportunities out there. And so entrepreneurs really have to think differently, because there are opportunities. And like you said, you know, in a downturn, it's critical to figure out how you're going to really amplify, because we can offer things at lower cost. We can offer things at, you know, at least similar to the same work time zones. So all of those things are opportunities for us. The question is, how are we presenting these opportunities, and how are we figuring out, okay, who is on our diaspora network to help our region to be able to really capitalize and leverage some of these opportunities?
Absolutely, you're correct. I mean, which is why I said I mean, my default is always optimism, but without question, I look at what is, and both the negative and the positive. And that's why I said, I am bullish on anybody who is in health and wellness, and especially at the intersection of health and wellness and technology. I'm bullish on anything, because during times of recessions and downturns, people want to learn new things that will make them even more, you know, they can, you know, shape shift into different opportunities. And so training and education, huge. Right, food and beverage, of course, communications, yes, the creative industry, always, especially when you pair that with digital. So for me, I mean, I watch other podcasts like the All In podcast with Jason Calacanis and Jamal Palahapati, and I watch Coin Bureau about, you know, fintech and crypto, and I watch all those things, and you hear the news. Yeah, venture capitalists are telling startups, clean up your house. Because anyway, some of those valuations were outrageous. Let's just call a spade a spade. We're outrageous. They're burning through cash because they're trying to get to some promised land to give back VCs a thing there. But that's venture
10X,
capital.
10X.
Yeah, that's venture capital. Then there are others where you have angel investors, and some of them are also very doggish where that is concerned. But there's nothing like a consistently paying customer that really wants what it is that you have, because you are solving a pain, a problem for them. And I think now, you know, it's a time. That's why what we're going to be doing with the pop-ups, the beta pop-ups that we're doing in different countries, we're going fully gung-ho with going to connect with the diaspora and connecting the diaspora pockets to each other around tech and entrepreneurship and talent as well. And you're right, there's just a lot of opportunities when we connect with each other and say, hey, give me two examples. Are you talking about how do we take what we know and have in the Caribbean and go into bigger markets? Two things that I thought about. One that popped up yesterday in my feed. On a recent episode of Shark Tank, Kevin Hart and I think Mark Cuban jumped in and gave $600,000 US to this company, I think called the Transformation Journey or something like that, by this guy. And I haven't done my research yet, but let me tell you, I will bet $100 US again that he has some Jamaican roots. Why? Because the man sell sea moss gel. Sea moss with gel, right? Which I've been into for the last couple of years as well. Both as a gel that you drop into your smoothies, or you can take it in a powdered form as a supplement. And we get sea moss, which is what in Jamaica called Irish moss, which is usually what we call a put it back drink that the Rastafarians used to make, because it's ital, meaning it's organic, and it's vegan, and they knew all the various nutrients, because sea moss provides the body with 99% of the nutrients that it needs on a daily basis. This man told a fantastic story about how it helped him along his weight loss journey. Okay. His very small company so far was already selling sea moss to the extent of over $3 million US with a profit of 1.4 million. And then just to get started. And I was like, look at that blouse and skirt. Sea moss, which I see a lot of, there are companies here that have packaged it differently, either in jars, that they've positioned it differently in certain supermarkets. They're aligned again with the health and wellness stuff. Yeah. But they have not, they're satisfying the local market. But this guy who lives in the United States now has this huge market, and has these two billionaires and millionaire invested in this business. That city is going to like 10x, 20x, 100x. The other one is this chica who I read about maybe 2 years ago. She took what in essence is what they call the hibiscus plant, what we in Jamaica call sorrel, which we usually just drink Christmas time, but now it's available year round because people are wanting it, and so there's a lot of growth. We call it that, and we all again know the benefits of not just eating the hibiscus in terms of like a paste, but drinking it on a daily basis. This chica built an entire brewery and beverage business around this one thing called sorrel and hibiscus. It's not, Kevin Hart invested in her, right? She is Jamaican, but she's in a bigger market. And so what she's done now, she's taken her Jamaicanness, she's taken her Jamaicanness and knowledge of that sorrel, what it does for you in terms of it being organic and vegan and it's good for you, paired it with the health and wellness trend. She's in a market that has hundreds of millions of people, right? And she also clearly had to learn how to set up beverage plants and beverage manufacturing and packaging and selling. But having done that, she's making millions from sorrel, from hibiscus plant. And again, example of how entrepreneurs, we need to think differently about and also understand the value of what we have and we take for granted here in our own backyard, underneath our own nose, and see how we can pair it with technology and different markets and different things and launch in bigger markets. So for me, I don't welcome the high cost of fuel and the light bill gone up because it's hot now because it's summer approaching and so I have to turn on the AC, right? Thank God for inverter technology. But gas, everything gone up. But I shift my head, okay, well, that's a reality. I can't do anything to change that. No, but where's the money? Like, show me where the money is going to be made. And so, yeah, so it's the possibilities are still there. So I guess we can say that as I said, we was it Bob Marley says about the dirty tough? Rain is falling, but the dirty tough. In other words, yeah, good things are happening, but tough things are around as well. Please don't. I don't remember that saying. Don't kill me, please. I am Jamaican. Do not take off my Jamaican stripes. Thanks. But yeah. So you are. Let me ask you this before we go into what's coming up next, and then wrap up until we do it next week. You are in what they call a property tech or prop tech industry.
Right, yeah.
You have merged digital with the real estate industry. Right now there's mixed news actually about the housing sales are plummeting because mortgage rates are going up. And so there's a shift. And then if you read some other places, they'll say, no such thing. Prices of, how are you feeling about keepingly your prop tech startup you're in the American market,
right?
All with these pieces of data and trend data. How are you feeling about that?
So number one, which is how I realized that something is wrong. Everybody's property valuation has gone up because number one, everybody was home. Everybody's done something to their house because most of us would own a home, but we won't be doing too much work on it. And because you gotta get up every morning to get to the office, so you're not taking it on. But now you have to live here all the time, 24 hours. Work becomes sleep, place, blah blah. So a lot of people put a lot of work into their home during that period. Right. So property valuations inextricably went up. Number two, everybody realized, hey, I don't need to live where I work, so I can go find a new house. I need more space because your kids, everybody home, your wife, your kids, if you have a family, or more, and that's what a lot of families have bought, single family homes, etc. People were willing to pay. I mean, the market became so ridiculous that people were paying for houses. The houses were gone in like literally hours to days in some cases. People were paying above market prices. I mean, you had people like Kanye and Kim Kardashian paying what? One paid 500,000 above asking, the next one paid near 800,000 because of whatever their feud was. But you see crazy numbers like that, fueling things like that. And then you had on the other spectrum, you have people who were buying houses in a process called sight unseen. So you buy a house that you never even seen. You're skipping some of the fundamentals, like you're skipping appraisal, you're skipping you're skipping appraisal, you're skipping evaluations. So you buy houses like buying cat and bag, as they would say in the Caribbean. So you're buying cat and bag. You don't know how the property condition, you don't know anything, but you've paid for this. And so you have right now in the market, you have buyer's remorse, because I think there's a survey I saw came out recently that says 75% of people are unhappy with paying too much for their homes. So I think that where that is concerned, I think that there's some data that says there's easy, but they had to do that, which is why the interest rate also went up, because the inventory was low, prices were going up, and so the whole concept of demand and supply was playing out in the property market to ease inflation. Fed interest rates, send up the mortgage rates, and so now you have some cooling. And we have a bit more properties coming back or starting to trickle back onto the market. I was in a conference 2 weeks ago in DC where they were talking about, builders were saying, the cost of building a house, the head of the New Builders Association was saying that the cost of building a house is like $300K, the minimum. 2 years ago was like 150, but with everything from lumber prices and all those supply chain issues, everything, I just think it culminated in a perfect storm. So for property and for where I'm sitting, I tell people the reason why keepingly is like your best friend is because ultimately, for most of us, this is your most important asset. This is the asset that you will pay the most for. You might like your car because everybody else sees it, but here's what, that's not where you're sleeping in the end of the day, right? Exactly. You don't sleep in your car, you sleep in your house. And so a lot of us have made infrastructure changes in our house, but because we don't document it, now here comes keepingly being able to help you to do that documentation and to be able to say, hey, here's what, I have a spouse, who may not be keeping track of what is done. At least at the end of the day, I die, I have everything documented in keepingly. Parents, and this is why I think that even internationally and in the Caribbean, it works well, because a lot of our children have gone abroad to live. Who knows what happened in the house in Jamaica or in Trinidad or Barbados? Who documenting it? And when these children, the parents die unfortunately, now the children have to come back, and most children are coming to live back in these houses, but they want to sell them. Do they sell them for next to nothing? How do they ensure that, they're getting fair valuation for what is? And even as you buy the property, I would say, understanding what has been done, because, I have had experiences where there are things in my house that go bad like 2 years after. And I'm like, okay, whoa, was that supposed to go bad already? But because you don't know, you're not taking track, you didn't get all the documentation when you moved in, it's just like, okay, yeah, it's one of those wait and see things. So I think that for me, where I sit in the property market, I think that, there's going to be some, what is really going to drive a lot of things is how the property market should, evolves over the next few months. But I would say because it's our largest asset for most of us, it's going to be very interesting. And I think that people have to take account of, how that evolves for them.
Yeah, that's what a fantastic pitch for keeping in mind. Again, people, that's why he got the money. That's why he got invested, right? Yeah, I'm telling you. But no, man, as we wrap up here, and so so that's why I said I too, with SiliconCaribe, I'm very, very busy, building out our ecosystem. We have our media stuff, we have more events coming here in the region and in the diaspora. We're getting more, we're putting out more trend intelligence. So we're gonna drop some more lists, we're gonna drop some more data that people can use as well. And we're gonna get into some other things that we'll reveal later on, but we're building out our ecosystem now because we see that there are amazing needs and opportunities in the region, connecting the region to the world, the region to the diaspora, and all that is going on. So we are excited. I mean, let's, before we wrap up, was us saying there are a couple of things that are coming up. As I said, we had said at the top of the thing, oh, hold on. Before I wrap up with the events and lists that are coming from SiliconCaribe. Now, I mentioned earlier that when we were talking about that man, Elon Musk, and I said I'd bet my sister in DC $100 that if Elon Musk actually buys Twitter, I'll give it to her. And I could remember her name. I just remembered her name is Annalisa Gale. Please don't kill me, Anna. Annalisa, Jamaican multi-Emmy award winning journalist, just left her 9-to-5 and gone right into her own business. So check her out, annalisa.com. And I hope that you don't kill me that I forgot your name earlier, Annalisa. But anyway, so back to wrapping up. Events and lists coming up from SiliconCaribe. As we had mentioned before, Daniel and I are heading to Barbados for FinTech Islands Conference. We have to go to see what Prime Minister Mia Mottley, or the Caribbean's Prime Minister, is up to. She did already.
And you forgot to congratulate her. She was on the Times.
Of course, congratulations to Prime Minister Mia Mottley for being, one of the Time 100 most influential. Of course, come on now, right? Yes, come on. So we're heading to Barbados to attend the conference, to do a live This Week in Caribbean Tech podcast. I'm definitely gonna talk about getting a Bridgetown beta pop-up event around that as well. So Peter Stoutking, listen out, you're gonna hear from him. He's gonna join us on the podcast shortly, maybe over the next week or two, to talk about FinTech Islands and what we're gonna be doing there. Then we have an e-commerce trend forum coming up next month. Some more details coming soon. We have a future of work and talent trend forum coming up as well. And of course, future of Caribbean money, our new dates will be released to only people who are subscribed to the This Week in Caribbean Tech newsletter. So go to SiliconCaribe.com, click on that link you see on the front page and subscribe. And then we are late with it, but we're coming with it this month, the top 50 Caribbean people in FinTech, crypto, and blockchain to know. And so we finally finished the list, and we're happy with it. We think it represents where we are right now.
So Ingrid,
that's going to drop.
I know we didn't talk about it. So what are your thoughts based on what's happening in the crypto market?
You had to do it, You just have to do it, right? Let me tell you something.
Just your thoughts.
Yeah, no, you think you have me now, right? But anyway.
No, I don't think I have you. I know that is one of the things I missed asking you. And I'm like, okay, this market is really, and for me, it's just, I'm just observing, because, under the underlying technology I'm a fan of. It's just that this is too volatile for my spirit at this point in time. But I just want, because again, that whole conversation I had about protection, I'm like, look at people losing a lot of things at this stage. But
listen, as I said, I love blockchain, the technology, because I believe that is the technology that is going to, the next level or the next phase of the internet, right? And next phase of the world economy, that whole 9 years. Right? That's pretty much been an accepted, an agreed upon thing on the world. Crypto, which is one of the early fruits of cryptocurrency, early fruits of the blockchain technology. They had a massive correction. It's still, we call it in the bear market right now. It went all the way down, and we're looking at some of the coins where, from Bitcoin to Ethereum to the others that, others have invested in. You're like, damn, they like dropped like 50, 60, 70, 80%, right? And yeah, I remember one morning I woke up and I saw the market and I was like, wow, let me walk this off. Let me walk away from the coin market cap app that I have on my phone and go take a walk outside, because I was like, wow, ouch. But when I see the reality, I was like, fine, that's fine, because I'm in it for the long haul. I was like, what investments are on sale right now? Like Solana was 150 something, now it was like $40 and $50. I was like, well, running in upon that. You look at some other things and you're like, that has dropped, well, by 50%, whatever it is. So if you're long-term minded, like if you're taking a Buffett approach where you're looking for the best and the most high quality investment in the space, then you will see this drop, just like a drop in the stock markets. Buffett loaded up on a whole bunch of different kind of stocks because they're cheap as hell. So that's your, and you buy them because they're cheap and they're quality, linked to quality businesses and like solving quality problems that people are going to want solved for a long time. And so you go in and you double down. So yeah, for some things I double down on, and for the other things I cried a small tear, but knowing that I'm in it for the medium to long term. We will have this conversation again in another 3 years, sir. You ask me how my crypto portfolio looking, right? Yeah.
My real estate portfolio would be looking very handsome by then, man.
There you go. So just call us. We already know that we're multimillionaires. So we just call it what it is. We just happen to be wonderful co-hosts of This Week in Caribbean Tech, and that's how we're going to left it. Yeah, we're back. We're back. We're going to be we have team members joining us to keep us on track to deliver to you every week stuff that comes out of our heads, comes out of our startups, comes out of our businesses, comes out of the Caribbean tech and business industries, tie that to what is happening with the rest of the world, and to deliver to you some fantastic actionable insights and things that you wouldn't find anywhere else right here every week on This Week in Caribbean Tech. So we're going to drop this on YouTube. Go to the SiliconCaribe YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Come on now. We're going to drop a notification of it on SiliconCaribe.com. And so watch it, listen to it. And if you're sure you found some interesting things, just be generous and share it. No, so, all right, sir. Well, okay, Mr. Freshly Funded. I'm looking forward to hearing
going out to raise funding. I mean, that's the next hamster wheel that we're going to be on.
Come to Canada. Come to Collision with me, man. Come to Collision. In a couple of weeks with me. We'll go.
I have some friends. I'd send them your way, but
Okay.
I'm just really
yourself in Miami. All right.
For a little while. No. Actually, remember, I'm going to Black Woman Talk Tech.
In New York, yeah.
I'm in New York in June. So for me, that's I'm trying to and then I end up somewhere in Trinidad in unification. So yeah, I'm not dreading travel. I suspect we're already in the fifth wave that people are being silent about. So I'm masking up.
I never stop. There's some places that I don't mask because I feel comfortable there. But in terms of flying, without question, I'm going to Collision, and I'm going to probably the only people with a mask on, because with those tens of thousands of people that are going to be converging from 50, 70 countries across the world, yeah, man, COVID will be there. But this woman will be masking, probably double masking. So no, I may not take nut check. I don't care who think it's weird. I'll be looking cute, yes, but with a mask on. And with that.
You don't know that like that, so.
Yeah, me not care. Me not take nut check at all. I don't care who are vex. Oh, Ingrid, take off your mask. I want to see your face. That's nice. Go to Google and Google my name. You'll see what I look like. This woman will be wearing a mask when I travel. Thank you very much. And with that, we see y'all next week. All right. Take care. Daniel, talk to you later. All right.
Bye.
Cool.